I'm Byron Block, an independent consultant and court-qualified expert in auto safety. This video concerns an urgent matter in auto safety. It involves the pending standard for rollover roof crush and the issue of preemption.
Every year, 11,000 Americans die in rollover roof crush accidents. That's 30 Americans killed every day. Rollovers also cause 24,000 severe disabling injuries each year and are the #1 cause of quadriplegics in our nation. In a typical rollover accident, the vehicle's weak roof crushes down into the passenger compartment, applying tremendous forces on the occupant's head and cervical spine, often causing a fatality or permanent paralysis. Case in point, when his Ford Escort rolled over and the roof crushed, David Garcia suffered massive head and neck trauma, which rendered him a permanent quadriplegic. In this inspection of the accident vehicle, note the buckling and deformation of the roof. Closer examination of the roof elements shows that the windshield header is a weak, open section with large hole cutouts. A safer and stronger design would include a closed, reinforced box section. This design is used in many vehicles today and would have prevented such extreme buckling, but the weak roof in David Garcia's car did not protect him against the intrusion that caused his injuries and changed his life forever.
How are such inadequate roofs allowed in our cars and SUVs?
The government only requires that vehicles pass a slow push on one side of the roof. That's it. This test is known as Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard, or FMVSS 216, and it has been the government's only roof strength test for over 30 years, since 1974. This test was supposed to be replaced in 1977 with a dynamic rollover test, but that never happened. Clearly, this minimal slow push test is completely unrealistic and does not represent what happens in real-world rollover accidents. If the roof can withstand 1.5 times the weight of the vehicle without buckling more than 5 inches, it passes the test and can be sold to the public. But vehicles that pass FMVSS 216 in the laboratory environment will fail easily in real-world accidents. This government test is a fraud. It has not ensured strong roofs in our vehicles, and with 11,000 deaths and 24,000 serious injuries every year, a better test must be demanded. Congress has directed the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, to issue a new rule to upgrade the roof crush test. But what NHTSA is proposing is hardly an upgrade. They are considering only a slight increase of the slow push test to 2.5 or 3 times the weight of the vehicle. But this new test will remain inadequate and unrealistic. It will fail to ensure safe roofs for vehicles sold to the American public. Many vehicles produced today have roof strengths that far exceed the pending NHTSA proposal. Some have roofs that pass 4 to 5 times the vehicle weight, showing that the technology exists today to make stronger, safer roofs. A better test would require that a vehicle's roof withstand at least 4 times the weight of the vehicle, and ideally would include a dynamic lateral rollover test to validate the performance of the roof. Clearly, a dynamic test would better reflect what happens in real-world accidents. Some automakers have been internally testing their vehicles with such dynamic rollover tests for decades, and their roofs are much stronger as a result. But too many automakers only rely on the government's minimal slow push requirement as a measurement of roof strength. To sum up, NHTSA is now proposing only a slow push test up to 2.5 to 3 times the weight of the vehicle and no dynamic test. Instead, to ensure safer roofs, NHTSA should require a slow push test of at least 4 times the weight of the vehicle and validate it with a dynamic rollover test at 40 miles per hour. There's also a shocking provision that has been inserted into the proposed NHTSA rule. Tucked into the language of the proposal, one sentence would grant automakers immunity from liability if they comply with the test. It would preempt all conflicting state common law requirements, including rules of tort law. In other words, persons severely injured or killed in rollover accidents could not pursue legal justice in any court in the United States. They would be precluded from their constitutional rights to present their case to a jury.
The risk of potential product liability lawsuits encourages automakers to try to avoid that risk by making safer and stronger roofs that will better protect occupants in rollover accidents. Removing the product liability risk eliminates the consequences for those automakers who instead produce weak and dangerous roofs.
The preemption provision was written in by attorneys from U.S. automakers who had been politically appointed during the Bush administration. They had been working on behalf of the auto industry from within the government agency that was established to advance vehicle safety and protect the public. But this preemption provision essentially does the opposite. The new Obama-Biden administration now has the opportunity to correct this preemption injustice. Further, this attempt at preemption is specifically prohibited in the very law that created NHTSA. It states, compliance with any federal motor vehicle safety standard issued under this title does not exempt any person from any liability under common law. Yet, through this preemption ploy, automakers and NHTSA are now attempting to wipe out the 200-year history of legislation and case law that enables injured accident victims to seek justice and compensation for their injuries. The heavy financial burden of caring for the injured victims will then shift from the automakers responsible for those injuries to the states and individual taxpayers. Preemption should be immediately stricken from the NHTSA proposal for roof strength. This proposed roof crush rule, including the preemption of our rights, affects all of us. Help fight for auto safety by urging NHTSA to delete preemption and toughen the standard for testing roof strength. And with 11,000 Americans dying in rollover roof crush accidents each year, we cannot accept weak standards any longer.